Hi, and welcome again to our program. I'm Deborah Piroch. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we have something special in store for you. I'm speaking with Mrs. Alexa Gaspari. She's Viennese, and I'd like to begin just by welcoming her to our program. It's so good to meet you.
Thank you for inviting.
Oh, no problem. In the second half of the show, we'll be talking to your husband, but we're going to be concentrating on marriage and family because you have a wonderful marriage. You've been married 47 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you were childhood sweethearts. You were only 10 when you met your husband.
Yes.
Husband to be.
We were in the same school, in French school in Vienna.
Yeah.
And well, my husband always says he saw me the first time on the radio station, on the station, when he came back from France with other children from school, and with my brother. And I came to get my brother from the train, and there he saw me. I was 10 years old. And I saw his picture.
And he was 13.
He was 13, and I was 10, yes.
Wow. And you stayed friends all of those years. How old were you?
We didn't see each other for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
When he graduated when he left school, we didn't see each other for 3 years. And then some friend of us, he brought us together. He said, oh, we're doing some bowling on Saturday. Wouldn't you like to come? And yeah, of course. With some friends. I didn't know that he will be there. So
how wonderful. Yeah, it was fate, obviously. It was meant to be. You have how many children together?
We have 3 children and 4 grandchildren.
That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I know that you were very happy to be able to stay at home as a young mother, which unfortunately is not always possible anymore. But explain to me why. Why? Because I think motherhood these days is denigrated, and many people say, oh, she's only a Hausfrau, she's only a mother. But motherhood is one of the most important things that a woman can do for God.
Well, and not only this, but I think a woman who is at home, she can do so many other things when the children are in school or in kindergarten or so. So I had so many possibilities to do. But I must say, this started when we found out that there is a loving God. And this changed much our life. And this changed my way to see my motherhood. And I knew that this was so important for the children, but also for me. I can't imagine that I could have been so happy somewhere else working. I was working before in the Atomic Energy Agency.
Oh my goodness.
2 years before I got
married.
My first
your
baby.
First baby.
Yeah.
So I know when you married, you were both cradle Catholics, but your Catholicism was not a deep-rooted Catholicism. Your husband even said in an interview I saw on YouTube that he married in the Catholic Church basically because it meant a lot to your parents. So the first stage of your marriage, you had not discovered the true meaning of the Catholic Church, and he talked about 2 stages of marriage. Can you go into that a little bit?
Well, when I remember now, the first stage was not very long because we married in '68, and in '71 we went to a concilio. And first my husband, and when he came back, I thought he changed.
Interesting.
Well, he's listening to what I'm saying. So I thought that must be something very interesting.
It's a good sign if the married husband listens to his wife,
yes. So I was very interested in what he had lived. So I went to a concilio too. And well, this changed very much our lives. It started to change, but it's never finished.
No, we grow in the faith forever, really. It's a process.
And it changed completely our view of life.
Yeah, changed your whole world perspective.
It was as if there had been a sort of curtain which
opened,
yes.
and suddenly you could see the real truth. After this Corsillo event, how long was it before you began, for example, you became very active in Radio Maria, which is in Austria here.
This was in the 90s.
Oh, that was much later.
Yeah, much
Your
later.
husband at this time then was still working as a businessman, and you were at home during these years.
Yes. He was still working, but I was at home, yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about what it means to be a wife, because so often today there's a lot of mistrust about marriage. And a lot of these are secular ideas which are so prevalent in society that even Catholics are influenced by them. And so Catholics are scared to get married, I think, just like other religions or people who don't believe, because they're afraid the marriage won't last and that it's impossible for a union to be forever, as the Church asks of us. And with 47 years of marriage, obviously you can speak to that. Talk to me a little bit about the freedom of being a wife.
Can you ask me more specific what you mean?
Of course, of course. I had read that you had a greater sense of self-worth that comes with marriage. Some women feel that it's a kind of a trap, that the man decides everything, that the woman doesn't have anything to say, that she's not equal in the marriage. Did you feel equal in the marriage? Yes,
of course. But I think this has much to do with faith too.
Yes, why?
Because this is what God told us, that we have different gifts and different duties in the world, but we are equal in what do you say?
In status.
Yes.
Pope Francis spoke about this recently. He was saying man and woman are equal, and he spoke of how men and women are complementary to each other in the marriage.
Yes, this is very much true for us, specific, maybe specific, because I was always the one in our family who got to know people, who cared about people, about children of our friends who came to our house when the mothers went to work. They were at my house till the kindergarten started or school started. I had so many to do with people around me, and then when we started, for instance, to take care of refugees.
Oh wow! Okay.
From Vietnam. These are still very, very good friends. A big family.
Yes.
There was so much help needed, and
women are natural nurturers.
Yes,
that comes naturally. This emotional side, I think.
Yes.
What did your husband provide to you as a person? Did he provide you with a greater sense of self-worth, that you would be loved unconditionally?
My husband always had much to do with writing for a newspaper where he worked, and he has a big knowledge of all things, I say, and he can manage to mix this and make a good thing out of everything. And he gave me everything he wrote down, he gave me to read.
Oh, so he shared the process with you.
Yes. And so I had the chance to read everything and to get a knowledge which I didn't have time to get by myself.
Of course.
And he got to know the people I cared about. And so this was a good mix.
It's a wonderful mix. Yeah.
And he never said anything of everything I wanted to do, I could do it. Neither the church said anything I couldn't do. What everybody says today, the women don't have enough
rights and
power in church. I worked for Radio Maria We have a newspaper together since 1988.
You were also president of Radio Maria for 8 years. You volunteered for, what, a few weeks?
Yes.
And next thing you knew, 8 years later, you were still president.
Yes.
And all this while being a wife and mother and still being able to work for the church.
And for instance, how do you say, a prisoner who is getting out of prison?
Yeah, that's how we would say it, yeah.
Well, there was a house where the young man who came out of prison could live there because they had a family or so. And we went there, and one of these young men was taken when he tried to
escape?
No, to open a car.
Oh, a break into a car,
yes.
Yeah.
And he went to prison for 1 year, and I went with our Bernadette. She was a few weeks or months old, and I went there every time I could see him in the prison.
Wow.
And when he came out, he came to our house and stayed there, and he was one of our best friends till he died much too young.
That shows how much when we give of ourselves, we always get something back.
Yes.
God can bring good out of evil.
Yes.
In a way that without religion would not happen.
Yeah. And through our work for the newspaper, I have the possibility to get to know many Catholics who are really doing something special in life. And
who are very inspiring, yes.
I would say who allowed the light of God to influence their life and to become a light themselves.
That's a wonderful place to take a break. When we come back, we're going to meet the husband of Mrs. Gaspari and hear what the man of the house has to say. Please join us then. Thank you so much for joining us again for the second half of our program where we concentrate on family and marriage. I now bring you the other half of the Gaspari marriage, Dr. Christoph Gaspari, who with his wife has been married 47 years. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well,
it's wonderful to meet, in English we say the better half. Usually the
well,
man...
You could say that in German too.
Yeah, okay, I'm learning things. Usually the man calls the wife the better half, but in any case, you've been married 47 years, and one of the things we didn't discuss in the first half is that among your children, you also have one child that you adopted.
Yes.
And this is a special vocation, I think. Not all couples are able to adopt. They don't feel called to do that. Explain to me why you felt called to adopt a child.
Well,
when you could have children of your own.
Yes. We always thought that maybe we could save a child that would be aborted. So we had the predisposition to accept a child in case of emergency.
Wonderful.
And it was not the case, that case that we imagined, but it was a boy that was in the Kinderdorf.
Which is kind of a home for children.
It's a sort of small village with houses where in every house there lives one family, one woman with 7, 8 children that form a sort of family.
Okay.
And he was taken away from his mother at the age of 5.
Wow.
And went to the Kinderdorf.
Okay.
And there he came into a family that had to stop continuing because the mother of this family had a heart attack.
Oh.
And she had to retire.
And she had to
So
take it easy.
Again, he was in a situation where he had to change a place. And since my wife had for many years already contact with this family, the mother of this family asked if we couldn't take
the
Marcus.
child, yes.
So since we had this idea to take a child, so we take, instead of a child that would be aborted, we took Marcus, who was 10 years old.
That's a wonderful story. I had read where you and your wife had given an interview, and you said, "It's not easy to open oneself to marriage," and the same would go for family. "It is not easy to open oneself to marriage, to acknowledge one's own faults and live with those of our spouse. Faith and doing things together is important. No one in marriage or family is dispensable." And that would, of course, go for your adopted child, but it goes for each other as well. Can you talk a little bit to me about this complementary relationship as God intended man and wife to be from the man's perspective?
Well, we just lived through a situation yesterday. We got in the morning, we got up with a telephone call where a friend of us called that one of my best friends died yesterday.
Oh no.
And my wife immediately said to me, "Get up, we go to the hospital where our friend is, and we go to meet the wife of my friend
And spend some time to comfort her.
To give comfort to her." I wouldn't have reacted as fast and with such a decision as my wife. And
interesting, yeah.
And afterwards, I was very thankful that she said, "Well, we have to do that," because and this is just one example where I'm very glad to have somebody who sees things differently from me and who takes decisions that I wouldn't have taken, but I'm very glad that we have taken them together. And we have had this in many situations. So many of the things we have done in our life, for example, the adoption and taking care of people getting out of prison, and this was an idea of my wife. And because I'm rather a type of I have a personality where reflection is important and where I like books and I like to analysis and to think about things. So it was a great how to say.
It was a balance.
Yes.
A great balance between the two of you.
A very enrichment of my life to have my wife with me that is different for me, but since we do things together, I did things that I would never have done.
So it stretches you as a person.
But the important thing is that you decide to go together and that you stay to your decision. This is important. And I think that many people today, they are anxious to make decisions that would last. And that you don't say anymore, well, let's go back, we will change. So I think this is the thing that we must tell people. You become free once you decide to go away, and then you continue to go this way.
This commitment.
It makes you free from many things where you had possibilities that would distract you.
You decide together and then you move forward together as a couple, because the two become one in marriage. Many people, as you know, in the secular world today, young people don't want to get married. They're afraid of marriage, and they lack the faith to realize that only in marriage is that hole in your soul really filled, because there's an unconditional love when the man and wife know that they are going to stay together forever. But a lot of young men today don't want to get married. What would you say to them?
Well, I can understand them, because if you haven't faith that God will help you to go this way and to continue this way, and that gives you the capacity to forgive and to start again if you have difficulties in your, because every marriage has crisis. So this is completely normal. You mustn't worry to be in a crisis in a marriage. But because you know that God will give you help to come out of this crisis. And I think that in a world where so many people see that marriages don't work, they can be afraid to go this way. But if they have faith, then it becomes possible.
Faith makes everything possible.
Yes, yes. And I sometimes think that only marriages that have a basis of faith will survive at long. In a society that
doesn't value the same values as the Catholic Church does. Yes. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because we don't have a lot of time, unfortunately.
So go on.
But what's taking me so long? I want to talk a little bit about the paper, Vision 2000 or Vision 2000, which you and your wife founded, I believe, and it has a circulation in this Catholic newspaper of 20,000. Tell me why you started it and what you hope to achieve by it.
Well, I started it because one morning I woke up and I was sure that God wants me to make a journal. I was completely sure, and moreover, I knew how it should be.
Interesting.
The sort of what it should look like. And it was in a time where the computers weren't at the same level as they are now. So it was quite difficult to imagine how you could do that project. So this project started in 1988 at a large family congress in Vienna that my wife and me, were part of the organizing team. And the chief of this organization told me to make a sort of journal for the Congress, for the people that came to the Congress. It were approximately 10,000 people that came. And at the end of the Congress, we gave them this newspaper that was a sort of summary of the Congress. And we asked the people to tell us if they would like, if we would continue this project. We would be ready to do that. To
continue it. What feedback did you get?
And the feedback was very, very good. So we decided, well, we make a next step, one step. Right? And that's the way how it started.
Step by
the
step.
Feedback on the next was good as well.
How many years has the paper existed now?
27 years.
27 years. Yes. And you did this after you retired or before you retired?
No, before I retired.
Before you retired? You were a busy man.
Yeah. So we made it.
I went and read a little bit about Vision 2000, and because our English listeners, most of them won't understand German, I want to translate and tell them your mission statement. And you say on your webpage that many today believe faith is no longer the answer, but we wish that Christ's healing power is just as real now as ever. Crises are thus not experienced as a threat, but rather point to a new world, as we are deeply convinced God holds us in the palm of His hand. That's a wonderful mission statement. Can I ask, did you write it? Did your wife write it? Did you write it together?
Well, when we started, we were, my wife and me and another couple. We were 4 people. Well, I made a sort of first draft, and then we came together to decide what we would finally put into the journal, to say what we wanted to do.
It's hard to say as a Catholic because we are constantly growing or trying to grow in holiness, and it's a lifelong work. I think every day you get up and you try to be a little bit better and a little bit better. A better father, a better mother, a better grandfather, and so on. How do you approach holiness? What attempts do you make? How do you approach or try to integrate holiness into your everyday life? Do you obviously you go to Mass every week and so on. You're very active with the newspaper. It's very difficult with today, computers and everything. Everybody's always busy, busy, busy. How do you make time for the faith in your life, and what do you do exactly?
Well, I start every day with prayer. And the older I become, the more I'm aware of the fact that prayer is the decisive thing in your life. because it's not so much important what I have to say, but I have to do my best to open my mind to God in order to give Him the possibility to act through me. And I do not really know exactly how He does it, but I believe that that's the way He wants that the things happen in all our lives, that He is the one who directs our lives. And so I think that the first thing is prayer. And the next thing is to deepen your faith by looking at the world around you, and you find out that really the solutions coming from faith are the solutions for the problems of today. I'm always amazed to see how
God leads you by the hand and shows you what He wants from you.
And also that we Catholics must not be hiding behind some curtain because we are so old-fashioned. No, it's completely the contrary. We have to tell the world where they can find the real way for their happy life.
That's a perfect place to end. Dr. Gaspari, I want to thank you so much for being with us on the program. You know, the Christophers have a saying, it's better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. We thank you for joining us. And again, Dr. Gaspari, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.